Umar Johnson has been collecting money for this school since Frederick Douglass was alive. I mean, Umar Johnson sat and worked out deals with Frederick Douglass to actually name the school, the Frederick Douglass, put his name in the school. Now, it's been 1,000 years, and he still hasn't opened up the school. He still hasn't had the renovation done in the school. He's still sidestepping questions. It's just a whole bunch of stuff that goes on with Umar Johnson, right? It's questions is asked is, when you open the school, how is the school going to get funded? How you going to pay the staff? How you going to feed the students? Where you going to get the stuff from to teach the kids? All these different things are questions that he won't ask, because if you're not a donor, then you don't have a right to ask anything. Now, mind you, he's a 501c3 nonprofit where he's responsible to the public, right? Because he gets public donations, right? Man, this stuff is real crazy. Now, he said that he wasn't going to do any more interviews until he actually had the school open. Now, he actually broke that promise again, because, Umar Johnson is filled with broken promises. So in the interview, he was asked the same similar questions, and he said this.
We saw this kind of rumored around, and we wanted to get your thoughts on it. So critics say, obviously, you raised millions for your school, and after some time, about a decade or so, the school hasn't been up. So they want to know, what's the 2026 update on FDMG Academy?
First of all, anything a critic says about FDMG, I would like to know where they get their information from. Nobody knows how much money we raised because we never shared it. My circle is so tight that nobody in the public could know anything unless we share it with them. The only people we share information with are our donors. The big problem with the so-called FDMG controversy is the people asking the questions are not the donors.
Now, he says that his circle is so tight that they only share information with their donors. Now, when he was having the issues over the summer, when they was having threats of taking the school, right? Where was this little tight-knit, closed circle that he had? Where was the secretaries to handle the paperwork, right? When when he lied and said that they never sent him, any information, and then that person for Delaware came out and spoke, right? And said that, no, he's lying. We sent him out information. We even put notices on the door, right? I think it was inspection person. We put the notices on the door. Where was the secretaries? Where was the people that handles that's supposed to handle all this stuff, right? Behind the scenes. So he's already exposed again as a liar, right? Because if you had a circle and you're collecting money, you already have people that's taking care of stuff that you can't take care of, or things that you might miss. They're handling all of that kind of stuff. Or if you don't have or if not, again, how are you going to keep the school? How are you going to maintain the school? How are you going to keep it running? These are questions that he won't ask, because his tight-knit circle that don't exist, they're not saying nothing because they only speak to the donors, right? But it gets even more crazy.
The donors don't ask questions. We have their complete faith, complete support. 85% of our donors are repeat donors, which means they've been supporting us since the fundraiser began. The people who want answers are people who have no vested interest at all in the project. So I don't answer questions to people who don't have any vested interest in the project. You follow what I'm saying? I don't go around offering answers to people who don't have anything to do with what I'm working on, because this is a private Black community initiative. We don't owe them no answers. We don't take any federal money. You see what I'm saying? So, that's the problem, because they want us to be accountable to YouTube. They want us to be accountable to Instagram. They want us to be accountable to the struggle streams. I'm not accountable to nobody but our donors. So when donors have a question, they can call me and ask. And I know if they're a donor or not, because we've recorded every donation we've ever gotten. Every one. You follow? So if you call, say, Doc, I wanted to ask you a question about the school. Sure. What's your name? When was your last donation? How did you make that donation? Let me confirm you.
Now, this man is a compulsive, vicious liar. And anybody that wants to trust this man with your children, man, listen, do it at your own risk, right? Now, there's a man on YouTube, Lennon Honor, that's been exposing Umar Johnson for some time, and posting his financial records and showing how he's been moving money around and the trouble that he's been in. He's been doing a great job. And Umar, to the point where Umar even mentioned him a couple of times on Umar's YouTube channel. Now, again, for the life of me, I don't understand how this man still has a following where people will really invite him to come onto the show or invite him to come in to talk, where he hasn't produced anything. He stepped up with his chest out and said he was the prince of Pan-Africanism, right? King Kong consciousness and all this stuff, right? But he hasn't produced what he said he would do. But yet and still, he still got a following. But let's look at what Leonard Honor was talking about in reference to his finances and why we shouldn't trust him.
As a statement of fact on God, that you raised a bare minimum of $1,923,499. I'm going to drop the video that shows from your own words and your IRS filings that you raised a bare minimum, homeboy, of $1,923,499. My best estimate, if I include 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 2025, that you raised well over $3 million by now, homeboy. But I can say, as a statement of fact, not speculation, not hearsay, not your mama said or my mama said, for that matter, that you raised a bare minimum of $1,923,499. In fact, now let's go through this step by step. Umar states, and I'll provide the video tomorrow. It's gonna be on. We're gonna be on it. He said that he purchased these abandoned buildings for around $700,000. Again, 700 around could be a little bit more than 700, could be a little bit less, but we're gonna split it down the middle, and we're gonna stick with $700,000. On Umar Johnson's IRS filings, his nonprofit status IRS filings from 2020, he says that he has $518,048 in cash sitting in a non-interest bearing account. So you can take $700,000 and you can add $518,048 to come up with a total of $1,218,048 total FDMG donations raised as a bare minimum by the end of 2019. Let's go. Umar, on his IRS filings, you guys can go pull it up for yourself, says that in 2020 he didn't raise any money, but then in his 2021 filings he backlogs $177,892 donations raised in 2020. So we can add that to the $1,218,048, and we come up with $1,395,940 total FDMG donations raised by the end of 2020. Let's keep going. On that same tax filings for 2021, okay, because he didn't in 2022 he put zero, but in 2021 he backlogs 2022. But in 2021, for 2021, he said he raised $116,585. Well, we add that to the $1,395,940, and we come up with $1,512,525 total FDMG donations raised by the end of 2021. And then in his IRS filings for 2022, he reports to the IRS that he raised $121,646. Excuse me. So we take $121,646,000 and we add that to the $1,512,525, and we come up with $1,634,171 total donation FDMG donations raised through 2022 as a bare minimum. And then for 2023, Umar Johnson said he reports to the IRS that he raised $204,822. We add that to the $1,634,171, and we come up with $1,838,993 total FDMG donation raised through 2023 as a bare minimum. And then in his 2024 IRS filing for his nonprofit status, he reports to the IRS that he raised $84,506 in donations. We add that to $1,838,993, and we come up with the total of $1,923,499 total FDMG donation raised at the end of 2024 as a bare minimum. Clock that.
So you have people pulling up the financial records, right? And not just Umar Johnson, but you have so many people pulling up the financial records, even the city of Wilmington, right? Pulling up the financial records. And what he's doing is he's attacking people, calling them struggle streamers. People don't know what they're talking about. People pulling, he's upset, because people pulling support from him. I mean, he's on one, right? He's on, this guy, ego is through the roof, right? I mean, and it's sad. It's really sad, man, at the way that he operates and the way that he thinks. So, like I said, man, I don't like this guy, man, but I don't know why people keep platforming this dude. Like, what does he offer? What is he bringing to the table, right? Even in his job, his expertise, where does he do this at, right? Where's his office, his building? Where is he working out of, right? Like, all this stuff is weird, man, but like, he's so arrogant, and all these years he's been collecting money, people are still allowing him to come on the platform and speak this way.
You can ask all the questions you want, but if you're just a struggle streamer, you're just looking for content so you can just run with some negativity, I'm not giving you no answers. With that being said, let me clarify a couple things about FDMG. The fundraiser began on April the 12th of 2014 in St. Louis. Originally, we wanted to purchase the HBCU St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Southern Virginia. HBCU for sale, they wanted $2 million. A buddy of mine called me up and said, Doc, there's an HBCU for sale for $2 million. Of course, we hadn't even started raising money yet. So the fundraiser began. We lost. The Chinese purchased it. And I'm embarrassed that black people let another race purchase an HBCU built by our ancestors coming out of slavery. The Chinese have the St. Paul's. So we said, okay, we can't get St. Paul's. Let's keep on raising this money and let's try to just get a regular day school. So we started traveling all over the world. As I told you earlier, we almost ended up in Atlanta. The big issue with the early school search is once these property owners found out who I was, and let me be clear, most of the properties that we were interested in during our school search from 2014 to 2019 was Roman Catholic schools because they take good care of their property. I thought we were going to end up in Detroit also. Detroit had about 5 Catholic schools that we had enough money to buy. And once they found out who I was, they wouldn't sell. There was another Catholic school in Money Earned in Mount Vernon, New York. They wanted to lease it clean. I said, we ready to lease. They called the Vatican in Rome. He told me this. He said, half the Catholic schools in America are managed directly from Rome. I did not know that. So he had to call the Vatican and ask them if it was okay to lease the school to Dr. Umar. They said no. So a big part of the delay was we couldn't get nobody who would sell us the property that we wanted, right? So we ended up in Wilmington, Delaware. We bought the school in 2019, only 5 years. All black money, no white financiers, no white bank. Purchasing a school in 5 years from the people's money from the community, I see no problem with that. So we get the school in February 7th of 2019, and we've been renovating it since.
So he mad because, the Chinese came in with a bunch of money and they bought the building that he couldn't get. Then, he tried to get some building from the Catholics, but the Vatican turned him down. I mean, this guy's always like just on some sensational, he's just some weird, he's a weirdo, man. But the thing was, he ain't done.
February 7th of 2026 will be 7 years. This past Saturday, we completed all the renovations on the school. Why were we delayed so much? And I'm not even going to call it delay because I believe in divine timing. If it didn't happen yet, it wasn't supposed to. You feel me? That's my position. But if we want to look at this practically, the reason it took us 7 years to do the renovations is because the black contractors, I'm going to say it, the black contractors who we depended on to help us cross this finish line sooner, they scammed us, they robbed us, they never completed their work. I haven't had a single black contractor. Quote me on this. In 7 years, I haven't had a black plumber, black electrician, black roofer, black HVAC, black painter, black floor person, not one black contractor who we paid to do the work ever finished what they got paid to do. Not one. So can't nobody say shit to me about how long it took us to get this job done. It took us long because of ninjas in the community who don't have integrity and work ethic.
Now, do you believe you need any more help?
Well, as I said, we finished. The renovations are done. We got to dot a couple I's and cross a couple T's, and then we have to go for inspection with the city of Wilmington, Delaware. We don't know what's going to happen with that because they never thought we would finish. Now that we're done, we now got to fight them. Because remember, they tried to sell the school behind our backs this past summer. We had a vacant property registration fee bill that we should not have even owed because as a nonprofit, you're supposed to get a 4-year waiver. They didn't give it to us, right? I called them up to see if we can come to some type of an agreement. If you're not going to give it to us, say that and let us pay. The woman in the office told me she would call me back on 3 different occasions. Never called me back. I emailed on 3 or 4 other occasions. Never responded to my email. All of a sudden, I get a phone call, Dr. Umar, the struggle streamers on YouTube, talking about your school is about to be auctioned in 21 days. I said, this can't be true. I just checked the mail. We ain't got no mail saying they trying to sell our school. All our bills is paid up except that vacant property registration fee. So I called one of my supporters in Wilmington. I said, can you go past the school and see if there's another set of paperwork on the other door? Because remember, we own both schools, by the way, not 1, 2. We own 4 buildings. We own the block. Name somebody else in the Black conscious community who bought a whole block. Nobody. I'm the only one. So anyway, the struggle streamer stole 1 set of paperwork. My supporter got the other set of paperwork. She took a picture of it and sends it to me, right? Guess what? If they would have took both sets of paperwork, if the haters would have took both sets of paperwork, I would have never knew that our property was going up for sale because the city of Wilmington did not communicate that to us. They would have sold that school behind our backs and we would have never even known. So when I tell you getting ready for this inspection, we might have to get ready for war. We might have to get ready for war.
Well, I hope that completes itself how it should, for sure.
It should. Either way, it don't matter.
Yeah.
My ancestor Frederick Douglass told us more than 100 years ago, no struggle, no progress. If they want a war, we give them one. If I got to bring 3 million black people to Wilmington, Delaware and march on the city, that's exactly what we do.
So let's unpack this. Young people, stay away from people like this. One thing I know, one thing I'm learning, that being black, everything ain't about a struggle all the time. We've been told that, we've been lied to, and we've been conditioned to believe that just everyday struggle is the norm for us. No, it's not, man. Right? This man collected over $1 million. There's plenty of black professional people that could have helped him. He want to blame it on ninjas now, right? Not himself, not his decision making. Then he said that he, they tried to take the building from him. He called the city and the lady put him on hold. Why are you making a phone call? Where's your staff? Why didn't your staff make the phone calls and handle those things for you while you're out handling other things? Because you're a one-man show, because you are a liar, right? But everything ain't a struggle, man. Like stop lying to us with this struggle all the time. First of all, we ain't in the days of Frederick Douglass no more. We supposed to be more advanced and move forward. We got way more rights today than Frederick Douglass and his ilk ever had. We wasn't born slaves. We didn't have to go and disguise ourselves to escape, right, to the north. We ain't have to live that kind of life. So why are you invoking Frederick Douglass in the modern today's time? We got access to so much stuff, man. Like a lot of these pro-black dudes today, a lot of these Pan-African guys today sell you a whole story of a struggle because they don't get results. They can't get things done. This is the thing. Everybody black ain't struggling, bro. I just came from down south with the family. They got 100 acres of land down there in Virginia. Then when I go down to Columbus, Georgia, the other family, they got 100 acres. Black people with houses on it, living good. They not struggling. It's not that, like, listen, they keep selling us this stuff. We got to stop. We got to get out of this mindset. Out of this constantly raining all day. The sun never shines on the black community, man. Everybody black ain't living like that. But as long as you keep letting him sell you this stuff, you're going to stay in a perpetual tailspin of failure, a perpetual tailspin of lack, right? And this is what they want to keep you in while they flourish and you get nothing. And with that, you have very low expectations, right? The bar is set very low, and they don't have to produce anything because you already coming out with a defeated mentality where you think every single day of your life you on the battlefield. Nah, man. Nah, man. Listen, at the end of the day, he collected money from these people. He should have had professionals. I don't care if you had to hire whites or Mexicans. Do whatever you got to do to get that building open so black people can benefit. Don't blame it on the ninjas. I blame it on you, right? For having an effective counsel Who the people around you that, like, there's professional advisors, people that started schools, buildings that can help you that are black. Oh, you don't want to work with nobody because you ain't doing right. Your spirit ain't right. You're not right. But yet and still, you want to come and sell my people the struggle story. Always the struggle all the time. Man, I'm off that, man. I'm off that. Because that's not our story. Yeah, I get W supremacy, and now you say we're going to show up to Delaware with 3 million people. We're going to fight. You going to fight what? Fight what? I don't know, man. Y'all got to let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.